It's time to assimilate the best team in the game, Viktor and his massive army of tokens. And if you're looking for how to play him, here's everything you need to know. Viktor, Herald of the Arcane, is a legend of the Mind and Order domains, with an activated ability that lets you rest one rune and itself to create a 1 might recruit token, allowing us to flood the board with cheap units to go wide and make combat messy. Supporting this is his champion Viktor Leader, a 4-cost 1-order recycle, and a passive that lets you play a 1 might recruit token to your base whenever a non-recruit unit dies. There's also Viktor's other champion, Viktor Innovator, a 4-cost 1 mind recycle with 3 might, and a triggered ability that says when you play a card on an opponent's turn, play 1 recruit token in your base. While this ability sounds very powerful, we're definitely less of a spellslinger deck than you'd imagine, at least reactively on our opponent's turns. So we're going to focus more on Viktor Leader for our champion. Thanks to Viktor Leader, we're sure to never run out of units to fuel our attacks, and though they may start small, cards like our signature spell Siphon Power will allow our meek recruits to turn the table on any foe. For 2-in-1 order or mind recycle, Siphon Power lets us choose a battlefield and give all friendly units there +1 might for the turn, while reducing the might of enemy units by 1 to a minimum of 1 for the turn. Empowering our smaller units is Viktor's game plan to overwhelm your opponents, which means we're going to be filling this deck out with cards that generate card advantage and interact with our opponent, while all at the same time continuing to spit out those wide boards 1 recruit unit at a time. But first, we need to select the perfect battlefields to support this strategy. We want to be getting the most value of sending in multiple small units to fight rather than individually large units. This small spread will also help us take undefended battlefields with ease, allowing us to pick up free points and abilities throughout the game. First up, Trifarian War Camp, a battlefield that gives all units +1 to their might, including attackers. Where our opponents will be playing larger bodies with all their might in 1 or 2 units that get +1 each, like 1 3 might unit, our might will be split across multiple cheap units, 3 1 might recruits in this case, each receiving +1 might to overwhelm them with a total of 6 might to their 4. Then we have Obelisk of Power. While it allows both players to generate extra runes, our deck full of cheaper cards can consistently outpace our opponents with the help of 1 rune. Even if the extra rune doesn't allow you to play multiple cards in a turn, that extra rune can always go towards activating your legend ability to make another recruit token. Remember, symmetrical abilities like that of Obelisk of Power aren't fair when your deck specifically builds to abuse it. And finally, there's the Arena's Greatest, a battlefield that at the start of each player's beginning phase, that player gains 1 point, allowing us to rack up points early so we can close out the game faster before our slower opponents have the opportunity to play their multiple backbreaking spells that may overwhelm our army of smaller bodies. While these battlefields have emerged as frontrunners in competitive Viktor lists, some others you can consider are battlefields like Grove of the God Willow and Altar of Unity that will keep the card advantage rolling when we start conquering early with our cheap units. Or the Grand Plaza, which gives you an alternate route to victory against decks that can keep your wide strategy at bay, while still being difficult for enemy non-token decks like Viktor to achieve themselves. When considering what battlefields prioritize, we want to find a way to capitalize value from conquering with our cheap units early, as you widen the unit count gap between you and your opponents by playing multiple cards in a turn sooner, and maintaining that army size with both your legend and your champion abilities. So now let's look at the units that will be filling out our army from the deck. Starting with our resource advantage units, Watchful Sentry and Soaring Scout. Watchful Sentry is a 2-cost 1 might unit that lets you draw 1 card on death. Meanwhile, Soaring Scout is a 2-cost 1 might unit that lets you channel 1 rune on death. Both units allow us to show presence on battlefields early on, while stacking additional value when we have our Viktor Leader in play, giving us an additional 1 might recruit unit on top of their death triggers. To help swarm the board with our resources in order, we lean on cards like Faithful Manufacturer, Noxian Drummer, and Sprite Mother. Manufacturer is a 3-cost 2 might unit that brings along a 1 might recruit when he's played, while our Noxian Drummer plays a 1 might recruit when they move to a battlefield. Sprite Mother, on the other hand, is a really deadly card. As a 4-cost 1 mind recycle with 3 might, she also readies a 3 might sprite token to use that turn, before it dies at the start of your next beginning phase, allowing you to quickly throw some extra power into the battlefields that turn, and the sprite token can then replace itself with a 1 might recruit unit if Viktor Leader is out. But for these value units to really overwhelm our opponents, we need to support them with spells. Just like our members support this channel and get content up to 2 weeks early, plus other fun perks for their help. Seriously, we couldn't be expanding into 2 trading card games without your support. But back to those spells. Stupefy makes a great showing in our deck as a 1-cost reaction spell that gives -1 might to a unit for the turn, then draws a card. Or Cold the Weak, a 2-cost 1-order recycle spell which makes each player kill a unit. While we're killing a 1 might token, our opponents will be losing a valuable unit that they invested more runes into. Hidden Blade is similarly powerful in our deck because it's very flexible. As a 2-cost 1-order recycle action spell with the hidden mechanic, it allows us to kill a unit at a battlefield. Then its controller draws 2 cards, meaning we can utilize this to clear a threat from our opponent's side, or if we need to dig for a specific card in our deck, we can lose a 1 might unit when we're already about to lose a showdown and draw 2 cards. For one-sided interaction, we have Falling Comet, a 5-cost action spell that deals 6 to a unit at a battlefield, and Singularity, a 6-cost 2-mind recycle spell, which deals 6 to each of up to 2 units. Notice how we're able to leverage our spread number of small bodies to avoid these powerful spells from impacting us that our opponents might play. Meanwhile, our opponents on a more typical strategy of investing in singularly powerful units will have their key pieces disrupted while our small units overwhelm whatever's left. However, we don't need removal spells to win when we have spells like this. Grand Stratagem, a 6-cost 3-order recycle action spell that gives friendly units +5 this turn. Going back to our earlier scenario of our 3 1 might recruits versus our opponent's 1 3 might unit, with Grand Stratagem, our 3 1 might units become 3 6 might units, giving us 16 might for the turn, whereas the same investment on our opponent's unit would only net them 8 might for the turn. And since this doesn't affect one battlefield, we can use it to swarm multiple battlefields at once to conquer or hold for the win. And for matchups where we do need a large body to contest, Thousand-Tailed Watcher offers a mass debuff instead of a mass buff, for 7 costs plus 1 mind recycle, plus the accelerate ability allowing us to pay an additional 1 and mind recycle to have it entered ready. Watcher comes in and reduces all enemy units by 3 might for the turn. On that note, there are some matchups where you may find yourself needing to establish a few singular units with a stronger might in order to overcome your opponent's strategy, or just their battlefield they've already set up because you've fallen behind. And while that's typically what the side deck is for, there are 2 main deckable options I can recommend today. The first is Machine Evangel, a 5-cost 1-order recycle 4 might unit, who on death plays 3 1 might recruit unit tokens to your base, allowing you to push through where needed and then reinforces your core strategy when he's finally defeated. The second is Cruel Patron, a 4-cost 6 might unit who requires you to kill a friendly unit when played. Taking out one of your 1 might recruits is small pennies for a cheap 6 might character, and we can even use him to facilitate the death rattle abilities of our other cards if needed. Now, while it is exciting to create a giant army of units and just send them in the fight, the real strategy of this deck is knowing when to pick your battles, holding back when necessary and amassing units before setting them in only when they will secure you a resource advantage over your opponent, or when you have any spells to support them over what your opponent has to make victory all but assured. It's a deck of chess, not checkers. And in multiplayer formats, you'll be happy to have a sizable number of units to send out to those extra battlefields while keeping those additional opponents at bay. While we invalidate common removal and make interaction trickier for our opponents, legends like Misfortune, for example, who utilize ganking and can deal damage to an entire battlefield with her signature spell Bullet Time, or cards like Anivia Primal can definitely pick apart our strategy if you expose your units too early. Similarly, Master Yi or Set, which looks to empower singular units, can out your combat tricks and removal with the protective spells already core to their strategy. And of course, you need to watch out for Kaisai's big bad signature spell, Icathian Rain, which lets them do 6 instances of dealing 2 damage to a unit, allowing them to stack up major damage on 1 or 2 targets, or spread it across our numerous tokens. And as always, here are a couple of deck lists to get you started. This list took 6th place at the Guangzhou Regional out of 512 players. And this is the list I landed on for practicing this deck for the guide. I think it's an excellent list to start for learning both Viktor and Riftbound before making adjustments for your local meta game. And if you're looking for more champion guides or more fun Riftbound content, check out the channel and subscribe.